cut out and I won't get elected. So I suppose with us in the Irish Freedom Party, we're like the 30-year-old journalist that George Hook was mentioning, right? I wish I was 30, I'm not. But 20 years later, we are ordinary people who say, you know what, wouldn't it be good to just have at least a vision for Ireland where we could sort out one or two things? And even if nobody elects me, I don't really mind. But what I would like to do is to become articulate enough and have policies behind us so that either if you get elected or you're on an interview, that if someone says something that's blatantly rubbish, that because I've never been on social media deliberately, that first of all I don't care about social media, and also that you could just say, no, that is wrong, or actually that is incorrect. And so why I'm very happy to be involved in Irish Freedom Party is because we have all these professors and policy people who are going to dedicate years of their lives to try and figure out what is the real truth. That we could then come up with some solutions, and even, I hope, I get elected, it would be great. But even if I don't get elected, that we can change the discussion. So to just stop the rubbish, like, oh yeah, it's EU money. You know, for example, in the EU, we're net contributors. Yeah. So it's actually our money. And so what they do is, I don't know if anyone, I had my second radio interview during the week with a very nice senator, and she spent the whole time going, but EU money built this, and EU money built that. You know, and you're saying, no, no, that's our money, it sits in Brussels for 6 months and then it comes back. I mean, you'd want to be pretty stupid, you know, if you think we pay tax and we give it to Brussels and they give it back, that it's somehow EU money. And so part of the thing, though, where it comes back to free speech, is that because for 20 or 30 years nobody has been challenging these people, you know, in all aspects of health or the environment or banking or housing or education, that they actually, part of the real value of free speech and why free speech underpins democracy and our republic is that in a democracy, if you have free speech and someone says something that's stupid or wrong, they can be challenged. Whereas if you have this consensus culture in the Dáil or whatever, they are so afraid that if someone, I bet you if someone said to them, I was thinking if I would ask them a question, you know, could they say there was a difference between male and female? I bet you that would stump them. You know? So it's a bit like the emperor has no clothes, you know? Or I mean, another question I would like to ask, I haven't been on a TV interview, I probably will never be, but is like, I wonder why did the UK citizens vote for Brexit? I wonder why. And I just was looking up some statistics of the BBC Radio 4 programme, the Today programme, and even though 40 to 50% of citizens in the 10 years from 2005 to 2015 were pro-leaving the EU, the discussion on the Today programme for the panellists was 97% pro-EU. And then in 2017, they did another survey in the year after, and it was 98.8% was pro-EU even afterwards. So that's what we're up against. And so the other thing I would like to do as well is to say that there is a possibility for us, if Irish people wake up in a good way, to actually figure out how, if we did have a radio station, or if we decided, you know, farmers, people in communities could actually, there was a study in Norway that if 64 families get together, they can actually just help each other. So say if you're a farmer, you know, families can say, okay, I will buy, you know, you could have 10 farmers and they would supply different things, or you could have an accountant and you could say, okay, I will do your taxes. So then people don't actually need to earn so much money to have good quality of life. So you could actually, you know, design communities, or people could come together, they don't have to leave each other. And what in South Korea they do is they plan their villages for the whole life. So when I worked in the European Commission, which I was very happy to do as a seconded national expert, I worked in the Commission for Global Cooperation and Global Coordination for everything in research and innovation. So it meant they would look at nanotechnology, environment, health, finance, enterprise, innovation worldwide. And then I went to the section between Europe and Asia, particularly South Korea and China, to see, because Korea when they have their policies for a country, 3 of the parts of it, so 2 might be economic and 3 would be about the societal health of people. So they would say you can give opportunity for free arts or free music or whatever, and that you have an opportunity in each community to come together every day. So what they do when they're planning a little village is they plan the creche where the young people go and the old folks' home beside each other. So that if 1 or 2 hours a day, you don't have to, and obviously everything would be vetted, that the older people in the community can actually interact with the younger people and they get to know each other. Or if they're designing houses, you can have a house with like a basement where a single or a young person could be, or an older person, and then you have a family part. So what could be very useful, because what I see in rural Ireland is that all of the policies in the last 15 years are only about taking out, doctors and taking out policemen and taking out post offices. But what you could do in a small community is have what we used to have in Kilcash, Kilsheelan, is parish halls. And what you could have is that the guard would come up for half a day, the doctor would come half a day, the post office, so that it's not that each of them would have to, rent, communities and they have all the burdens, that we could actually figure out quite innovative ways. And then the government system, the way we have now, only really has control if we agree to that system. So, or Buckminster Fuller said, if you want to change something, I'm paraphrasing, if you want to change something, you don't try and change the existing model. You develop a new model and work towards that and make the old one obsolete. So I think as a little political party, we mightn't change the world, we mightn't get elected. But if we were to come up with systems, just so that, because I think it's vitally important that rural Ireland and small towns and small communities don't get railroaded the way the agenda seems to be, to make it very difficult that you can't get cars away. I really don't. So I suppose the thing is, it is possible, right? So when I worked in the European Union, of course, I really worked my butt off. There are really good people in the world, like who have experience in the World Bank, where they go into failed states. And there's actually a way that you can very quickly and with very little money, from nothing, reinstigate very high quality education system and healthcare, and it costs very little. And of course I came back and said, why can't we do that here, right? So it doesn't mean that we have to have a whole lot of money. And what people really want when they're living in society is to be happy and healthy and not be afraid that they're going to be homeless or that they won't have enough money for their pension. And the way the politicians just talk about an economy all the time, and nobody actually says, is that what we want? We all just want to be healthy and have our kids healthy and get a good education and work. So, I know that's a very long-winded way, but I just wanted to say there is hope, right? It is not that difficult, and what we would like to do is to challenge the consensus first, and even if we don't get elected and we never get into power, maybe we might take them out of their sleepwalking into their pensions, right? So that actually do something for Ireland. Or if we got into power, we might spend the next few years trying to figure out how we can practically implement something. And then we would have an implementation plan that we would stick to. And if people voted and we brought it in, hold us to account. And if we don't, then don't vote for us anymore. So that's all. Doris Cahill, if I stand, I'm going to stand. Please vote for me. Thank you very much.